We're revisiting a mid-tier gun from Elite Force, and we're going to be talking about it in this episode of Airsoftology Reviews. So if you go back in the catalog here on the channel, this should look familiar. Well, actually, a black version of this gun, because I did a review of the Elite Force M4 CQC a couple years ago. And it was a pretty solid gun, especially for the price point. It falls in that lower, like under 200, like mid 100s range for a solid offering to get out on the battlefield, but not dent your wallet too deep. Well, flash forward till today, and there's a whole new update to Elite Force's next generation mid-tier series. Now I say mid-tier, which is kind of a misnomer if you want to talk about it, because in Airsoft, there's a lot of budget guns out there that are, let's face it, especially if you go shopping at the big box stores, I would definitely call low tier. So when comparing this to those, it's things light years ahead. But when you're looking at advanced like Elite Force's top tier line, like their HK series, this one is probably that next step right below it to keep it affordable, but keep all the features intact. So externally, we're going to talk about what you get on all of the series. They actually have three different versions. They have a CFR, a CQC, and a CQB. I know it's a lot of C acronyms out there, but we can go on that other. So the CQC is this very, very short, CQB friendly gun. The CQB a little bit longer with a bigger rail, and then you move to the CFR, which is really set up for outside games. So like if you want to transition from the indoor and get out there to a little more skirmishability in the bigger fields, that's where that one's going to set in. So externally, we're going to talk about these guns and what you get that's familiar across all of them, and then some of the unique features on the other ones. But the CQC is a good place to start just to talk about all the features. This one is unique. You get this integrated suppressor. The other ones, you get a standard metal outer barrel. Now this one is a polymer suppressor that is mock, but you still get that metal outer barrel hiding up underneath this rail. On this one, the rail is polymer. On the other versions, you are getting a metal rail, which is a really nice touch. Because this one's so short, you're not going to have a lot of stress on this rail, so moving to metal would have just added additional weight and not really added any more functionality on it. But on the front here, you do get enough rail space to put a little vertical foregrip, something on the side, a lighter, a laser, or something like that. Then continued rail across the top, which this portion is actually made of metal on this, and that's the same on all the different builds. But the body, upper and lower receiver right below it, stock, everything else except for the buffer tube and the charging handle are going to be made of polymer. Now, don't get me wrong, this is actually a really nice looking polymer. It's kind of got a satiny matte finish, looks good. You first glance, you're not looking at what people would think is a plastic gun. I mean, it's actually, they use a nice quality version of a polymer to make that happen. But like I said before, all the bits and pieces you can see on here that are in black, contrasting against the coyote tan on this version of the gun, is all metal. So all the parts that matter, like fire selector, mag release, even the magazine itself, the dust cover, and all those goodies are going to be made of metal, so it's going to matter most where you're going to be using those buttons. Moving on down the side, you do get the Elite Force logo on the side because this is their house branded gun with the model number below that. You're going to get a unique serial number here on the side. You can tell you're running the next gen version, and if you guys ever looked at Elite Force serial numbers, the first two digits are the year it was manufactured. This is made in 2015 and newer. You're looking at the next gen with all the upgrades. So more importantly, we're going to talk about what's under the hood and what's changed from my last review here in a moment. But I do want to finish the externals because there are some upgrades there as well. Rounding everything out, you do get the fire selector on the one side, standard trigger guard. Nice comfortable grip on this one. You do get the standard like A2 style grip with a little notch on some of the other ones. So depending on the version, you do have a couple stylistic changes. But I do like the fact that on this nylon fiber reinforced polymer, they color matched all of it. Even like the grips and things you could tell were like actually made separate, all do match. Because nothing's worse than like one tan here and one tan there to really make things look different. But what's neat is this, the new stock. And if you guys have had the original one on this, my biggest complaint on this review, if you go back and watch my gripe on it, was how to get to the battery compartment. It required moving a pad and taking the screw out. It was not the best design in the world, to say the least. This one, on all these versions, they've come out with this brand new stock. Now, if you guys didn't know, this is OEM'd by Aries, so this is all Aries built internally and externally. A little switch right here, boom, and the whole thing hinges open. No tabs to push, nothing to break, nothing like that. And then you've got all that room here in the stock to put your batteries. The wires actually shrink wrapped on the outside, so you're not going to actually catch it and tear it with the Tamiya connector. And a ton of battery cable. A lot of companies will give you a battery wire that stops like right here, and it makes it really hard once you're like trying to change a battery with the stock extended. This one, they gave you tons of wiring, so when the stock's all the way out in its full position, all the way there, you still have some to play with. So you're not gonna end up torquing your batteries or causing problems when you're using it on the field. Now, one thing of note externally before we jump into the internals that's noticeably missing on this version are a set of sights, and that's something Elite Force has done to help upgrade the internals, keep the price down. The only exception to the sights is when you look at the CQB version, they built in an integrated front flip-up sight. So all you have to do is add a rear sight in that to complete it. The front one is part of that fake gas block, which actually adds a really cool tactical look. But you do, on the CFR, get some sights with it. So those are included. That's why the price point is just a little bit higher, just a few bucks more for that. And then the other bonus you get, which we'll talk about in Chrono here in a second. Moving internals, this is where everything's changed. I'm going to talk about one external here in the internal section because it kind of does a double duty. So first off, vented motor grip. A little more heat dissipation, so if you're doing a lot of semi-auto firing, things like that, motor grip starts heating up. They've got a larger vented one here to help with that issue. Under the hood is where all the changes have happened. So in there, you're gonna get a new upgraded piston, a new tappet plate. Those are some of the bigger complaints. They saw some failure issues on the previous version after long-term use. So they went ahead and addressed those and put a better reinforced tappet plate in there, the new piston, and the new electronic trigger. Again, that's an upgrade. This is actually a Gen 4 electronic trigger. So it's not just like a snap switch or anything like that. It's the Aries electronic trigger board. Now, it's not the full one on their Amoeba line, but this being a Gen 4, if you guys knew, the Gen 1 and Gen 2 is admittedly had a couple challenges, right? And some of the previous version of this did have the snap triggers. Well, this one moves on to the Gen 4 board, which solves all those issues. In fact, even Gen 3 and Gen 4 are both really good. So you don't have to worry about putting a lot of stress on electronics and having a failure point in the gun. They did address that with this new version. Take you to the Chrono, I'm going to give you readings on all the different versions out here because that does change because remember I mentioned earlier we're looking at two different needs for this gun. This guy, the CQC or the CQB, which is slightly longer with a bigger rail, are designed for indoor play. So you're going to see an FPS of those around that 330, 335 mark. My test. So all in all, nice health rate of fire, nothing overly so to really put a lot of wear and tear on this gun, but enough so you can stand up in battle with anything. Moving to the CFR, the longer version, the FPS does jump. They built that, but the rate of fire seems to hold pretty darn true. You're gonna see an FPS around 360 to 365 with a 0.20 gram Elite Force Bio BB. So on those, it is built for the outdoor fields. It's gonna be a hair over what most indoors fields are with the 350. So if you guys want to buy the larger one and use it indoors, that spring could settle down, but I would really probably steer you guys to the CQC or CQB, depending on the styling you like on that. So guys, if you're looking for a pretty budget-minded gun, everything in here in this lineup I've been showing you is well under the $200 price point, so it's not going to destroy your wallet. And you've been looking for something either short, medium, or long. They pretty much something to match your tastes. Oh, and don't forget, they do come in tan like here and black too, so you can have both options for all three different versions. Take a look at the Elite Force's new next-gen M4 series. It's the CQC like I have here, CQB a little longer, and the CFR, which is the field gun. And if you guys want to learn more about these, as always, I have a link in the description below so you can check it out. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you're not currently a subscriber, click on the logo in the bottom right or in the description and you'll always be in the know. Plus, if you like what you saw in this video and want to learn more, I've got a link down there as well. And if you haven't had your airsoft fix just yet, click in the videos on the right or use the info button at the top of the screen for more. And as the saying goes, everyone has an opinion and I do want to hear yours. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this video, comment, and share.